We now return to Let's Play Tropico 6. So, some things. Some things are happening. Empty in stock of chocolate, really. Really. Okay, well, in that case, first things first, we're going to put down another one of these, although that's highly, prohibitively expensive. Actually, are we better off maybe just doing like a cocoa plantation elsewhere? Do we have the option for that? We did. And then we've got this, which is like not so great, but I'm kind of willing to make it try and work. Really bad efficiency, but we can always do upgrades to make that attempt to work. Anyway, I'm going to go spend some money up here, because it's only 600 to quick build these. So I'm going to hurry along with this stuff, and then we got this going on here. This tenement building can probably house some people. They just need to move into it. So maybe we can get rid of all of these and force them to move in here. Gold, we sold that real damn quick. Juice. Are we selling juice? We're not selling juice. How about we sell juice? Wow, we have many options on juice. China. China and the Middle East. Okay. So hopefully those people got moved in. They did. Why? God damn it. Do not. No. You gotta go here. Oh my god. Okay, well, answer to that right away is a tenement on the other side. We can afford that. That will hopefully make them move in here. We'll do armed caretakers. Do we want to electrify them? Not yet. No, we don't.
The people have spoken, shouted even, yelled and screamed and occasionally wailed.
Okay, well, I failed. Largely because of the last bit. So, that's the end of this. Kind of saw that coming, but, you know, I could have held off elections, I could have done whatever, but it's probably time to end this anyhow. So, Tropical 6. I liked it. I had fun up until the last bit there when things were suddenly changing. And the inexplicable thing there with the approval rating drop, I don't get that. I don't get why I close the game at 40% and I come back in and it's 14. I wonder if it has something to do with the fact that with every time you reload, the electricity is gone and the approval rating set at like 50% or something. I mean, clearly there's something going on there. I feel like that really fucked me over. It started the thing, but what really did it was me flipping over all the industry, not realizing how many jobs that really was. I should have slowed down on that and just built an industry for every farm that I was doing and tried to make that go, especially since efficiency was 150%. I could have put down more and squeeze that out a bit better there. So that really did me in. It's too bad that my sudden increase in the jobs didn't last. I did that too late. Putting the mines down. I could have also increased the military base, done another one, and that probably would have helped me to fight the rebels. I was hoping my policy was going to send people out. The quick change of the policy on immigration was going to send people out if they did not like living there anymore. Unfortunately, all those fixes clearly did not happen in time. They were not enough. So that is the thing. I think, though, that I was definitely right when I said that entering into the modern era was a bit of a sea change for everything in the game and how it worked. Balancing 5 superpower factions on top of 8 local factions is just, I mean, it was going very well until suddenly it wasn't. And yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. Well, I do know how I feel about that. I'm kind of pissed off about it, actually, but I don't know. I feel like the dramatic shift was unnecessary. because the middle eras were very similar. And then the modern era, I mean, I kind of regret even jumping into it. I just wanted the space program as kind of an end cap to the game, but we really were doing just fine in the Cold War era. There was no reason to jump forward the way I did. But knowing a little bit more about how the game works and the flow of everything, I think I would do better in a second playthrough. Just because I know what to prepare for, I would know how to better plan the city a little bit. There's just so much information in the game, and it's really not a city builder. It's really not. It's much more of an economic industrial simulator, with the fact that you then have to keep your workers happy. That's basically how this whole thing operates. Once we had the money down, when I could just build whatever I wanted freely, not worrying about it, I could easily keep the factions just afloat and happy, and everything was going great. At that point, it was sort of just a puzzle game where I was just putting in more pieces to kind of fill out the game a little bit further. I didn't have to go down tourism. I didn't have to go down any of that. I could have just kept pushing what I had. I feel like I jumped a little too soon from the colonial era. And at that point, though, the colonial era really is for setting down the base of your economy and everything. I did start a side game just a little bit, and I was able to go from colonial to the World War era in about 10 minutes. It's really that simple. And so it gives you plenty of time, once you know what you're doing, to set up a very, very good power base for yourself, getting the jobs all balanced, and more importantly, getting an economy thrumming so that you have a huge amount of money going into the next couple eras where you can then focus on the political factions and just kind of modernizing things, getting that set up and ready to go. So early on, you can just rush through it, but as we see in the end game, rushing through it is definitely not a wise choice. I still feel like that little bug or whatever it was that I don't understand that happened with my approval rating, I still feel like that contributed to things. I probably could have pulled up a little bit faster if I had not been... If I had still been at 40%, I feel like I could have recovered with all the things that I just did, giving me a few more minutes worth, but ultimately that didn't happen. So that's too bad. There were still a few things that I was a little bit interested in discovering, trying out like the airport and all that stuff, and really understanding better how all the tourism stuff works out. Again, there's just so much information in this game, and it really leads to overload. Like if I just jumped in at the modern era and didn't slowly build up from the colonial era, this game would have been completely overwhelming for me. So I don't recommend that. But you know, by the end there, I was fighting the menus like I knew I was going to, and it's just there are things in the game that should be made more plain or consolidated, so it's far easier to keep track of this, that, and the other. There are little things that just have bothered me as I've voiced as I've played this, and things that could be improved, the bus system, for example, but also the meaningfulness of something like that, because while it is good to have that transport system, because yes, people do take their time getting from place to place, when you've got that coupled with people living by their work, it basically means that you should plan out a city where you've got your industries, well, you've got your raw goods, right next to them you have your industries, next to all of that you've got your housing, and then in the middle of town is where you've got all your luxury resources, or not resources, luxury buildings and your resort stuff and all that stuff, and then you have buses going from the outer to the inner part of your city, because with the inability to go from location to location, it really otherwise makes them pointless. It's really better, I guess, if they all kind of clump together in the middle of your town and then hop onto another bus if they need to go somewhere else. further along. That's probably the most effective way to make that work, and the tutorials definitely don't mention that. They don't bring that out at all. And the way the tutorial does it, it has you basically put parking garages next to the bus stations, and so they are supposed to go to their parking garage and then take the bus somewhere else. That doesn't work with your broken poor citizens, unfortunately, because they don't have cars. So that's even the metro system there, which kind of fixed the bus problem, still wasn't completely satisfactory because it didn't handle the broke people, which I guess is fine because they're probably not contributing to any of the economy whatsoever. I highly doubt they're able to go to any of the entertainment buildings and whatnot, so maybe that's not an issue. But I don't know. It's very finicky, and it's not very streamlined in the sense that I can't at a glance tell what everything is doing. It's something you really have to sit and think about, the systems within systems, and the transport. I mean, it's kind of a little bit of a transport simulator too in that regard. It definitely rewards efficiencies, but unfortunately there's not really room on the islands, and there could be. I mean, I played in a archipelago. There is definitely an option for just a single large island, which is probably a little bit more freeing in the building aspect, because then you can have the space and you don't have to go across the map like I was doing there at the end to try and get my industry all the way down to the dock. I don't know. I was enjoying the game, though. I really was. Obviously, the switch to almost hour-long episodes, or at least 40-minute episodes, meant that I couldn't cram everything I wanted to do in a 20 or 30-minute episode. So I was definitely losing track of time quite frequently in all the things I wanted to do. There's also a lot of waiting in the game, though, which is annoying. And I guess that's kind of what the instant build is for. But I don't know. Little nitpicky things, I guess stuff like not being able to move every building. Even if it did cost money, just make that option available on every building. I don't understand the reasoning behind not doing that. Because, I mean, why? It just, I don't know. Didn't make a lot of sense to me, and it would have definitely helped, given the small map size, to be able to just pick up something and move it, rather than just have to rebuild for one thing. And that's another hidden thing too. I'm pretty damn sure that destroying certain buildings has a negative impact or effect on certain factions. It would be nice just to have that little bit of extra information as to what the buildings actually impact. Obviously, building a chapel is going to help you with the religious faction, and destroying it probably has negative impact, but seeing that in a solid number on the information screen of that building would also kind of be good. In a management game, numbers are important, and having that bit more information really would have helped, kind of with the whole theme of creating efficiencies and systems. I don't know, it's a little bit of a jumble, but I don't know. I did enjoy the game, though. Despite all of that, up until the end there, it was a pretty enjoyable game. And I don't know if that's just because I don't have the point of reference of the previous games. Maybe if I had played other games, I'd look at this and say, well, this is a crap game that has completely watered down this, that, and the other from previous games. I don't know. But I mean, it is what it is. It's a far better game than Anno 2205, for sure. But I don't know. I know I keep saying I don't know, but I don't. I don't know really overall feelings for this game. I enjoyed it, but in an abusive relationship kind of way, I feel. There were just things that were irritating and just didn't make a lot of sense in the fluctuations of like the approval and the money and all that stuff. And again, I'm sure there were legitimate reasons for it. I'm sure it wasn't bugs or anything. I mean, I guess I'm not sure about that near the end there, but Having the solid numbers in front of me to find out why would be much better. And while that couple information screens, which really could have been consolidated to one, maybe two, if we needed to, does have a lot of information in there, it's not very easy to read. I had to intuit a lot of what was causing impacts for this, that, and the other. So that, I guess, is what's kind of got me on the fence. For what the game is, graphically it looks good. The theme is still pretty solid. There is a little bit of repetition in there, I suppose, near the end, but it's varied enough that it's not super terrible until you get a faction leader who says they want their 5th chapel built or whatever, and why? Some more variety in that sort of thing would help. But what really puts me on the fence is just the interface for it, because on the one hand it kind of seems like there's a little bit of a casualness, mostly in the city building aspect, but there's definitely not in the management simulation part. That is a very, very unwieldy thing at the best of times, and not having all that information readily available there to help with the sort of planning and the logic-based thinking that requires, it just kind of was hard at the end to keep tabs on everything. And it's really hard visually to keep an eye on what's going on, especially with the generic buildings. The plantation buildings, the hydroponic farms are horrible. I mean, the plantation buildings could have been easy just by putting a different colored roof on the different type of plantation, or the hydroponics could have just had like a decal of a banana on the roof of the greenhouse, just indicating at a glance what it is. Finding the fire department, I mean, my God, just looking at it top down, I couldn't tell the difference. The roofs all look the same. I mean, and talking about visual variety, the housing situation, like the bunkhouses just being the only thing for most of the game for like the largest demographic of your workers, I didn't really care for that. The options for your poor classes just don't really make sense anyway. And the wording, I mean, of all the 3 options for your poor classes, the tenement building, notorious for being a terrible place to live, is your best option because you can upgrade it so much. You can have an armed guard, and by increasing the electrification, it becomes your best building for your poor workers. I mean, but the wording on the screen says it's like the middle choice. Like the terrible shanty town was fair quality, whereas your tenements were only lower quality. But and I don't know, it just didn't make any damn sense. And I don't know if that's something I missed or if it's really just bad interface choice there. But anyway, I don't know if I would recommend this game right now, honestly. I definitely don't think it's worth a full game price. If it goes down to like $30, $40, maybe. But definitely as DLC comes out, and it's going to, if we can go by the previous games at all. I'm curious to see what the DLC is going to add. I would say that by the time this is a complete game, then yeah, it would absolutely be worth buying, because especially by that time it'll be like $20. But at this point, I would wait if you're on the fence about it. There are other Tropico games available, and they are available in complete packages, and they are usually at a pretty good price, especially if you wait for a Humble Bundle, if you follow Humble Bundle at all. Ubisoft usually does a pretty decent sell off of their Tropico games and like their Assassin's Creed line and whatnot. But definitely, I'm always seeing Tropico 4, 5 at pretty good prices as a full bundle. And again, I can't tell you if those are going to be enjoyable games because I've never played them, so I don't really have a reference for previous Tropico games. But if you've got the itch to try this, maybe try one of those games before you try this one. Just a suggestion. But anyway, that's enough rambling here. Very short gameplay episode, but, well, what can you do? Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you in the next Let's Play.